Hey peeps, welcome to another video. Today it is I hate doing alterations but I want to wear these dresses so I'm going to do them anyway. It's a really long title for a video. So I have 5 dresses back here which I made 4 of them last year and then 1 of them a couple of years before that. The one from a couple of years before that needs a different closure method on the back so that I feel comfortable wearing it because the hooks and eyes are just not cutting it. And then the other 4 are slightly too big for me and I don't feel comfortable wearing those either. So I need to alter them so that they are wearable for me now because I love them. I love every single one of them. I just hate alterations. Why do alterations? Yeah, I would much rather make something from scratch. What about you? Let me know in the comment section down below. So, waffling about it is not going to get it done. Let's pick one and get started. Okay, first up is this. Now, let's see if I can get the number right. 8974 or 47. It's one of those two. I will put a picture up here for you. I love this dress. I love the square neckline. I don't particularly like the yoke details, so I have just put on a full circle skirt with French seamed pockets onto this one. It looks okay, but it's just a little bit big. Now it fits comfortably at the waist, but what I think the problem is that there's too much fabric under the bust, so I want to take out a fairly decent chunk. Actually, that's quite a lot, but I want to take it in under the bust and skim it down to nothing at the waist. So I'm going to pin this into place so that I can unpick the waist seam and just take in that extra there, because I just think if it fit better under the bust it wouldn't gape so much at the top, which is what's happening. Yeah, I just need to take in these 2 seams. So I'm going to get these pinned, and I have got a slip on underneath, which I thought was a really good idea, but I'm not sure it is now because I'm not ruling out pinning into my slip. So we're coming from kind of nothing at the top, and I'm desperately trying to not stab myself at the same time as I'm doing this. Like that. And you want to pin both sides because you want to take out even amounts from both sides. That kind of feels markedly better already, although I am stabbing myself with a pin again. Might just take out a small amount from there as well. So that just feels so much better. I've pinned out quite a lot. I've taken out quite a lot there. So now that I have pinned this into place, I need to see if I can take it off, and I haven't pinned through my slip, which is quite possible. Then I'm going to unpick the waist seam of the lining, which I have slip stitched into place, and then go in and kind of just re-sew and retrim these seams on both the outer and the lining fabric. Try it on again, and if it all works then I will slip stitch the waist back into place and then do exactly the same thing on the second one of these dresses that I've got back there. Let's see how this goes. I have pinned into my slip. Whoops! Okay, now that I'm free, I probably should have just put my dressing gown on today, but never mind. I've got the Sew Over Eve dress on in the Acrea Palms Visco Chalet from Lady McElroy. Anyway, now that I am free, I am going to measure the little bits that I've taken in and where I've taken them in up to. I will mark with friction pen on the lining so that I can work out exactly how much I'm meant to be taking in. Then start unpicking everything. Yeah, I'm not looking forward to this. I've decided to have a Mission Impossible movie marathon whilst I'm watching this because I just absolutely hate doing alterations, and I don't know why that is. I kind of refused to do them when I had a shop. I did get a couple of people come in with bags of things and I did a couple of them, and I really don't enjoy it. And as I've said at the beginning in the intro, I would much rather make something from scratch, but you know, like, people's weights fluctuate, as we know, and mine has fluctuated quite a lot, and from last year to this year I've lost 1.5 stones, which is awesome, but it does mean that all the things I made last year that fit me fairly well now do not fit me at all, and I want to wear them. With taking things in, you can do, obviously letting things out, if there isn't the seam allowance there, you can't. So a lot of my clothes that are still too small for me, I can't take those in, so I've stored those away for hopefully future use. but the ones that are too big, I don't ever want to get up to that weight again. So I'm thinking if I take these ones in, it's not going to be a waste. I don't want to put a box of these are my biggest clothes under my bed just in case. I don't want to have, not that safety net, but I just don't want to have those clothes sitting there. And like I say, I love all these. This Dolce & Gabbana banana leaf print dress, there is absolutely zero chance that I'm not going to want to wear that so immediately and this summer, because gorgeous. So yeah, that's kind of my theory behind it and how I am making myself do this, because I really do have to make myself do alterations. What are your guys' tips and tricks? How do you get yourself motivated to do something that is not your favorite sewing task? Let me know in the comments down below, because any tips and tricks that you guys have, I will happily listen to. First up, I'm taking my friction pen and making a mark where the pins are piercing the fabric, so I know exactly how much I need to take out. And then I need to unpick the waist seam that I have sewn down. And I'm taking my seam gauge just to see how much I need to take out of each seam. So once I've determined that, I'm then going to sew the lining fabric for the first one, just to double check things, make sure it's all going correctly. And once I've sewn in the new seam, I'm going to take the ruler and mark 5/8 of an inch away from the new stitching line so that I can cut off the excess, which will give me a 5/8 of an inch seam allowance continuously up the new seam. So I'm actually going to keep that little piece that I've cut off, and I'm going to use it as a template on all other seams, because I've got 3 more of these seams to sew identically. Hopefully, that's the goal, to make sure that everything fits the same both sides. So I literally match up the notch on the princess seam with the piece that I've cut off and trace that out, and then use that as a guide to stitch 5/8 of an inch away from that pen marking that I have put in. Once that's done, I can trim off the excess, and then there are still pieces where the original line of sewing is there, so I unpick that line of sewing so that I can press this seam open, clip into the notches around the bust curve of the princess seam. So I've just literally repeated that 4 times for all 4 seams that I need to take in. Okay, I haven't sewn the lining back down because I wanted to check to see if I needed to take anything more in, but I am much happier with the fit on this now. I think I'm going to go back and totally retrace the pattern for the second time, because I took off a good sort of 2 inches from both of these, so you know, like good 4 inches out from underneath of here. Yeah, much happier with this, much happier. I still think it is kind of gaping a little bit along here, but I am not going to worry about that. It's not awful, and this is a much nicer fit. So I'm going to sew the waistband back to, or the seam, the internal seam waistline, sew that back down with slip stitches, and then move on to the next one. So 1 down, 4 to go. Okay, dress number 2, exactly the same problem. There is just too much room in the bodice. I didn't take my slip off. That was intelligent, wasn't it? Never mind. Actually ended up taking a little bit out from above the top of the princess seam as well, or from above the apex of the princess seam. So let's pin it right from the top this time. Now technically this is the same dress as the last one, so you know, technically I could just do the same thing that I did with the last one, but I want to try and make sure that I'm doing this properly. I'm going to try and do it sort of semi-properly, and whilst this is the same pattern, it is a slightly heavier fabric. Both of them have been quilting cottons, but this one is slightly heavier than the other one. Literally all I'm doing is pinching out the excess fabric and just pinning the bits that I've pinched into place. And again, the waist on this is quite comfortable, so I don't want to take the waist in any, just kind of want to scoop out from underneath. So yeah, that's making it sit and lie a lot flatter across kind of here, and yeah, that's just again a much better, much kind of like snugger fit, which is what I prefer for my clothing. Sorry, I know I've been cutting my head off for a lot of that, but I do prefer my clothing to be slightly snugger. The previous fit might be something that other people enjoy, but for me this is the kind of fit that I enjoy. So I'm going to take this off, unpick everything, mark where I've put my pins, and take in those seams, iron it all and stitch it back together. Wish me luck. As I mentioned, this is exactly the same dress as the last one, although in a slightly different weight of fabric. So I'm doing exactly the same thing, marking where the pins have pierced the fabric with a friction pen, unpicking the waist, sewing the first seam of the lining, then using my seam gauge to mark 5/8 of an inch away from the new line of stitching and trimming off the excess, unpicking any previous stitching that's remained intact and clipping my notches, putting on a new movie by the looks of things, and then using that previous piece of fabric that I've just trimmed off as a template to then hopefully sew identical lines of stitching on the other 3 seams. And yes, watching Mission Impossible whilst doing this was interesting because I kept trying to concentrate on the movie rather than what I was doing. So again, I haven't sewn the lining down because I wanted to try it on first, but much happier with that fit underneath the bust. So can get this one completed by hand stitching the lining back in place. Again, it is still a little bit gapey at the top here, but you know what? There's not a lot I can do about that, I don't think, without completely taking the bodice to pieces and trying to remake it. I don't think taking it in any further is going to be any more help without like then distorting different pieces. So I'm gonna, this is good. It's all good. I'm gonna call it good and just get the lining sewn in place. And so far it's taken me 40 minutes. So let's see how long it takes me to get the lining sewn in and move on to the next one. Dress number 2 is done and it took me 1 hour, 1 minute, 47 seconds. And that included talking to you guys when I was trying it on. So that's 2 down, 3 to go. I'm trying to decide which one I do next. If I do another taking in the 1743, or if I try the shirt dress, which also needs taking in, or then the minor repair to the other one, but I still have to make some rouleau loops for that. I'll take in the next one, 1743. This one fits really nicely under the bust and around the waist. I have altered this one quite a lot to try and get rid of the super pointy darts, and I've sort of succeeded, but it has given me this kind of gaping issue at the top here. So what I want to do with this one, I don't know if this is even going to work to be honest, is I want to just take in the princess seam a little bit, try and pin this sort of way. Trying to this is not the easiest thing to do by yourself for sure. There we go. It's not completely getting rid of this weirdness in this area, but it is helping. So let's pin this side as well. Make sure I'm getting the right, because it's not the underarm seam, it's a princess seam. Because I really just don't want to create other weird fit issues. Well, I've still kind of got, and I'm making it very squished in that area. Let's take this out and see. Yeah, I think that is a little bit better. So it's basically taking 1/2 inch out. Yeah, it is better, because without it, it's just, yeah, really trying to not poke myself with the pins. It's flattening it out across here. I don't know, maybe this one just needs to be left alone. We all know how I feel. I mean, I love this pattern, but it is just daft. Maybe I should just leave this one alone? I don't know. No, those little bits bug me. Right, so I'm gonna try and squeeze out. Because when I take that in, it then flattens this out, which makes this look a bit strange. I don't know, but they do bug me. They do bug me, these little bits here. Right, I'm going to take it in by 1/2 inch at the princess seam, and we'll see how that affects everything. And I don't want to fuss with this too much because I haven't got any more of this fabric, so if this goes horribly wrong, I can't I can't remake this bodice. I've got more of the stripe, I just haven't got more of the all over print. I could get more, but I could also just turn this into a skirt. But I'm so pleased with the pattern matching on this one as well. Like the pattern matching down the centre back. I was so pleased with this, so pleased with this. I think I'm gonna try and take these little bits in, see how that goes. Yeah, I think if I try and tweak this one too much, I'll end up with more kind of weird fitting issues. This bodice was never going to be the easiest thing to do. Right, let's unpick. As I mentioned, I didn't think that this one was going to be any easy fix. I think it's a pattern issue that needs to be done in the paper or flat patterning part of the process. I am not going to make this bodice again. I'm going to try and find a different high neck bodice, or like I say in a minute, make myself a block, because I do love the look of this. I just don't like the fit of this. So yeah, I ended up having to unpick the underarm seam because of the way I'd sewn this dress, so that I could get to the princess seam of both the outer and lining fabric. Once I'd unpicked that little area there, I then sewed a extra, I think it ended up being 3/8 of an inch on both sides out of the princess seam, and folded the seam allowances back and sewed the underarm seam back together. So it's a little bit better, but I'm still getting this kind of like, I've got this excess fabric up here and I don't know what to do about it. I mean, I don't want to add more darts because they're going into the I think this one I'm just gonna call this as good as it's gonna get and live with it and just not make this pattern again. I mean, I love the skirt. You guys know I absolutely love the skirt. In case you haven't seen it, it's the, you know, my denim skirt that I make everything with the giant pockets. So I absolutely love the skirt, but I have tried and tried and tried with this bodice, and yeah, it's not great. It's not great, but it's good enough that I will now wear this one, probably with a cardigan over the top, to be honest, but never mind, never mind. I will just have to move on and try and find a different high neck bodice. I mean, realistically, I really ought to make myself a block, and then this is actually like a really basic block, and just put in the yoke and then the princess seams. I think this is better than it was, at least in my head. So I'm going to call it good. Finish up, sew back down the lining, and hang this one up and move on to the next. And so far it's taking me 18 minutes and 30 seconds. So let's see how long until I actually get this finished. 39 minutes 52 seconds. So this is dress number 3 complete. I'm on a bit of a roll, aren't I? Now it is 6:15. Do I do another one? Do I try and get them all done? Still got to edit this video and get it uploaded for tomorrow. We shall see. Yeah, I mean, I'm not 100% happy with this particular bodice. I think it's better having done what I did, but I still don't think it's perfect. I think that I will at some point try and get some more of this fabric to remake the bodice part of this dress, because I mean, I don't know, am I being too critical about it? I know what I'm like, it bugs me, so I probably won't wear it, but we'll see. We'll see. Now that I've taken it in, maybe I will change my mind. I love this dress. It's just a little bit big, kind of like here. Like I say, I sewed this with 3/8 of an inch seam allowance rather than 1/2 an inch seam allowance, and whilst I don't mind it being extra big at the waist, because as we know I wear these with belts because that's my preference, I think it is just a little bit too big kind of around here. So I think what I'm going to do is, let's think, I'll probably, do you know what, if I take it in under the underarm, I think that will kind of, let's actually pin it. So rather than have to take apart all of the dress and completely resew it, oh my god, pinning on yourself is hard. If I take in these underarm seams, I think, yeah, I think that's going to be better. Yes, so okay, and that's good because the way that I've lined this is I've sewn up the armholes and then I sewed up the side seams. So what I can do is unpick the lining at the waist, just sew the underarm, the side seams smaller like I would like to, leaving the waist as is, so taper out from the waist and up. That would be much easier than, because I was thinking I was going to have to unpick everything. Yeah, I think that's going to be the way that I do it. Awesome. Right, let's get this one done. For my first attempt, I unpicked the lining from the waist on the interior, and that was the only unpicking I did. It was a mistake. That was really quick, but so much better. So much better, I think. Oh, actually, yeah, I think I might need to, it's still kind of backing out there. Need to take it in. I need to so what I've been trying to do is not unpick it from the waisting completely. I've been trying to just kind of sew it from what it was there and then kind of take it in, and it's what that's worked up here, but it's given me these kind of like big baggy bits here, so I am gonna have to unpick it from the skirt at the side seams, which is fine, it's not a big deal, but I was trying to get away with just being lazy, and it's good up here, but it's kind of showing down here, so let's fix this properly. This fabric deserves it. Second time round I did it properly, so I unpicked the side seam from the skirt side seam so that I could get into it completely flatly. That was what the corner I was trying to cut before. So once I'd done that, it made it much easier to take out the little poofy bit that I was getting when I was trying to just sort of like aim for the previous line of stitching gently. I hope that kind of makes sense. It does in my head. Fingers crossed it does to you. That's better. That's much better. Yes, and it really didn't take very much time at all, so I really shouldn't try and cut corners, and just that tiny little bit of unpicking at the waist. Yeah, no, much better, and it feels better as well. I think I've done this alteration before. I think I've taken in 4 inches out of the bust of this. As I say, at the time, you know, obviously this time last year I was a stone and a half heavier, so you know it fitted better back then, but I'm really glad that I have made it fit me now. And I haven't trimmed off the seam allowances for this one. I have for the previous, the 2 square neck dresses. I actually trimmed the seam allowances down for those because they were princess seams. You know, to get them to lie flat you need to clip into them and stuff, but this one I've left the seam allowance intact, so if I do get to bigger again I can always let this one out, but fingers crossed I won't, and I am very pleased that this now fits me better. So I'm going to sew the waist back down to enclose all the raw edges, and then we can move on to the final dress, which is the backless or the open back one back there that I need to, I think, put buttonholes in. 39 minutes, 54 seconds, I can read. Dress number 4 is done, so one left to go, that one back there. I think this might be the most complicated. Let's try it on and have a look. Okay, I think with this one what I'm going to do, I think right, so I think the back, they're still gaping a little bit, but there is plenty of room because at the moment it's hooks and eyes. Sorry, just gonna have to just talk to you from behind. So I think there is enough room for me to put on buttonholes and buttons into the back. I don't know if the neck, I think the neck, do you know what? I think the neck edge is big enough for me to get my head in and out. I could just sew this shut. Let me see if, because I've taken my slip off so that you could see the back loop here. It is still gaping ever so slightly, so I might want to take those in, but I might just be able to sew this shut. Let me see if I can get this on and off without, no, I don't know. No, I think it's going to have buttons. Yeah, no, I'm not going to be able to get it on and off with the back completely sewn shut. That's not going to work. So buttonholes and buttons down the back, I think. And the next time I make this, because I really do like this dress, so the next time I make this, what I will do is I think put in an invisible zip that zips downwards, or if I like the buttonholes and buttons, just do that again. So let's give it a try. Let's see what happens. As you've seen, I've just tried it on. I think I need to just take out a little bit of the excess fabric that's in, this is the bottom where it joins together with the first hook and eye. I think I just need to take another sort of like ½ an inch, maybe 3/4 of an inch out of there, because it was still gaping. That is a alteration I have done previously, and I clearly need to amend the pattern. Then the other thing is, I think I am going to put in, am I going to put in buttonholes and buttons, or can I just get in rouleau loops? Because I'm going to have to, I'd really have to open things up to put rouleau loops in there. So yeah, I think I'm just going to put some buttonholes along this side, put buttons in at the other side, and that way hopefully the back should stay closed, because at the moment the hooks and eyes just are not cutting it. So I'm going to take the hooks and eyes off, get the buttonholes and buttons in, then we'll have a look at just tweaking the fit at the back. Okay, so this one ended up being actually fairly easy because all I did was put buttonholes in. I decided not to attempt to address the little back bit before I'd done the buttonholes and buttons, just in case. Having seen it on camera, I have decided that I am going to go back and just tweak that back opening a little bit, because it is gaping a little bit more than I would like it to. I would like it to sit flusher to my body. Now, putting in the buttonholes for this dress was fairly easy, although there is no interfacing back here. So the first one went in perfectly, second one was not so great, third was really not very good at all, and then the fourth one we just won't talk about. Thankfully they all work. I have fray checked them to within an inch of their life so that they shouldn't fray and split. I can actually get the dress on and off with the top 2 buttons done up, which is good because I can just about reach around my back to do up the bottom 2 buttons. And that's always my objection to tops that button at the back, is that I can't get in and out of them. But I am pleased with how this one has come out, and I will go back and just tweak that back opening a little bit more, just to make it so that it, in my head, looks better. But I do like how this one turned out. I forgot to time this one, but I don't think it took me more than ½ an hour. The button up at the back, I think, has been a success, and I actually don't think I'm going to change the bottom bits here, because I think I might change my mind when I watch this back a bit later. But I think crossing this over has kind of taken up some of that slack. But it just means that this top fits a little bit better because there's some tension all the way down, and it's not just going to come undone. And it means that I can wear the bra that I like but still have the little peekaboo at the back, which is really, really nice. Yeah, I think I'm done. I think I have fixed all of my dresses. I think this might be my favourite fix because I think it is the most successful. I don't know, the Dolce & Gabbana green leaf dress is pretty good as well. The other 3 are as good as I can get them without completely taking the entirety of the bodice apart and remaking them from scratch, which I really don't want to do. And I mean, I don't have any more of any of those fabrics either, so I couldn't, I'd have to make what I've got work, and I don't want to do that. But I've done my alterations. I have done 5 alterations, and that means that all of these dresses will now get worn, which is awesome. I really don't know, like I've probably said this a million times now, I don't know why I dislike doing alterations so much, but I really, really do not enjoy them. I'm halfway through, in fact no, I am a quarter of way through Mission Impossible 4. For some reason 3 is just not on Sky Cinema, which is odd. 1, 2, 4 and 5 are, but 3 is just not there, so I shall watch that at another time. But yeah, so 2 1/4 Mission Impossible movies have been completed in the progress of this task, and it's been a lot of fun. It has been a lot of fun, and I'm really glad that I've done it and I can take these back up and put them in my wardrobe, and fingers crossed I won't have any alterations to do again until next year, if ever. Let me know in the comments down below if you enjoy doing alterations, and if you don't, what your tips and tricks are to motivate you to do them, because clearly I need some help. But I hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you have, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't yet, please subscribe, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye!